Or in the audience here at City Hall today. Our first order of business is to adopt the agenda. I will propose that we move Section H, Communications, before Section G, Presentations. We'll just flip those two so we can get our two folks who will be up for a vote for committee approval before that we get into the meat of the meeting. If that's okay with everyone, I will move to adopt the agenda as stated. Second by Juan. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The agenda has been adopted.
Our next item of business is to approve the minutes. I'll move to do so. Can I get a second? Second by Amos. Please open the vote on the approval of the minutes.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The minutes have been approved.
Our third item of business this morning, Section E, is the approval of the 2023 Transportation Committee goals and objectives. I want to thank my colleagues for sending in items. They have all been incorporated into the document. I will move to adopt them. Are there any comments, or is there a second? Second by Norwood. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The 2023 Transportation Committee goals and objectives have been adopted.
All right, our next item is public comment. Mr. Johnson, how many items, or excuse me, speakers do we have today?
Mr. Chair, we have currently 4 people signed in for public comment. The first will be Ronnie Johnson.
Mr. Johnson, are you with us? Yes. Please come to the microphone right over here, and you'll have 2 minutes to share your thoughts with us.
How you doing?
Good morning.
My name is Ronnie Johnson, and I'm here as one of the spokesmen for the local share ride at the airport. And we come today with some concerns that we thought that you might need to be aware of. So we come with so that we can describe some of the changes and some of the unfair practices that's happening at the airport. Now, you know that the local share ride, because of the construction, we see a lot of different movements from big corporations and the transportation company, so that the traffic can flow. But there's some changes that's being made that's really being unfair to the small business, minority, and local share rides. And some of those changes, one that really will affect the flow is that we have this international bus. And I'm not sure if you understand the flow of how the parking is for the traffic, the buses and the vans. And so right now, international buses are being parked they drop off at the end of the share rides, and then they pick up on the beginning. But some of the changes that's being made is finna move this bus in the center of this traffic, which is going to create multiple disruptions. One being in the flow of the traffic through the vans, because it's hard to move a bus and parallel park it inside of all of these vans. Secondly, you dropping off in the middle of traffic, which was once at the end, and then drop off at the end and pick up at the front. And so all of this is going to create disruption, especially if you're dropping off people where the local share riders, where we need to have foot traffic. Foot traffic is the bloodline for our wages. And so without us being able to get this traffic and all this confusion is going to affect us. The second change, and I'm trying to do this in this 30 seconds, the second change is that we have 10 companies that has 3 stalls. And because of new contracts with the city, they bringing in two new stalls, so they're taking 1 stall from us, which would mean that we have now 2 stalls with 10 companies. And so, you know, the lifeline of us, like I say, is the foot traffic. And some of the other companies that's coming in are on contract, and it really does not affect them, the position that they have them in this. So we thought that that it was necessary that we brought this to the council. And I see my time is
Thank you,
over.
Mr. Johnson. I appreciate it.
Thank
There's a number of airport folks in the room. I know they're listening. We will raise this issue with them and figure out logistically how to make it smoother for y'all. Alexa Henry is our next speaker.
Morning.
Morning.
Okay, what I bring is not very much different from what Mr. Johnson has shared, so I'll be brief. At the heart of this issue is that the changes, as stated, will negatively impact minority small businesses. And at the heart of it is the location of the stalls is very important. It's just like real estate, location, location, location. So one of the things that's a concern is the location that the allocated 2 stalls for 10 companies are going to be located at. The other thing is, it's not real reasonable to have 2 companies that have multiple stalls and then 10 companies that are going to share 2 stalls. If you really think about that, that's going to create a lot of congestion and a lot of kind of infighting to try to do business in an area where there's shared a common interest, but still competition. So we just ask for assistance in taking a look at that to ensure that we get a fair shake in terms of how things are done when changes are made at the airport. And groups like this, the council is very instrumental and necessary to ensure that there's not unilateral decision-making that impacts players without any recourse. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. Alex Deal is our next speaker. And I'll note as Mr. Deal comes to the podium, we've been joined by committee members, council members Waits and Lewis, as well as Councilmember Hillis.
Yes, I came here to speak about the Berkeley Park parking permit ordinance. I live on Forest Street, and I've spoke with 6 out of the 7 homeowners on this street who are all approving of the ordinance. The 7th, I just wasn't able to get in contact with. Just some background, after 5 p.m. every single day, and pretty much all day during the weekends, our street, the residential side, is covered with delivery drivers picking up food from a ghost kitchen on Forest Street that may or may not have insufficient parking. And pretty much due to these drivers parking here, every single day, multiple times a day, I'm blocked into my own driveway with people parking and blocking the driveway, can't get out. Many of us have spoken with those drivers, and we've had aggressive confrontations, and that's something that now we can't even address. If someone's blocking my driveway, me and my fiance are worried to even go speak with them because we've had conversations that makes you wary to do that going forward. On top of that, the delivery drivers who live all over, they do not care about the neighborhood. They drop trash everywhere. If you drove down that street and looked at the condition, it looks absolutely awful. Just last week, I found 2 bottles of pee literally sitting at the sidewalk right next to my house. All that trash then blows into our yards. Pretty much, there's no way to constantly police the hundreds of cars that are parking on our residential street and likely doing illegal things every time they park without this type of ordinance, because I can call the cops as much as I want, but they're not going to get there in time. And let's be honest, they have more important things to do. But at the same time, we still, our quality of life, our right to quiet enjoyment of our property is still there. And that's why this would be a huge help. One last thing is late at night, pretty much we are woken up every single night from cars that park in front of our street and blast loud bass and music. Every single night I'm woken up. That's not an exaggeration. So this would be a huge help to everyone that lives on this street, and it's just a long time coming for something like this to kind of help everyone live better on Forest Street. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deal. Rachel Allred.
Morning. Hello. I wasn't gonna speak today, but last night we had like a incident at MARTA, which is just the common cause that's going on at MARTA. And also this morning, I was later than normal because, well, I'm just late because it wasn't because I woke up late. I always get on time. Anyway. Yeah, last night was absolutely terrible. I wasn't even gonna speak this morning because I've been crying for the last like 2 days because of just life around here. But anyway, thank you guys for the hard, like the nice mentality that y'all have. It takes a lot. So I appreciate you guys and I trust you guys. At the city hall meeting the other day, you know, and it's not due to y'all, it's due to like centuries of historical and systematic negligence and greed. So it's not y'all's fault. This is America, this is the world, this is the state that we're in. But business, from the business perspective, they have y'all speaking for 4.5 hours about conversation that has nothing to do with people in even my class. I was raised in Gwinnett County. I went to Mill Creek High School, and I'm living this life. You feel me? So get everyone at least up to code. I mean, they got y'all talking for 4.5 hours about nothing that's gonna help even me. Something that would help me is just MARTA. I don't even want to talk about home lives, you know, packing 6 people into a 1-bedroom, 1 apartment. You know, I'm in that thing all by myself, baby. I'm living gravy. It's very nice to see you. You're my district, so thank you. You know, I'm living good, but, you know, something that we do share is the MARTA. I don't have a car. My alternator crapped out, so I don't have a car. So anyone that's even got a car, anyone that's got dryer and washer inside the house, stop giving them governmental money. Stop doing it. You know, the Beltline's way well off. Well, you want to talk about, oh, maybe it's Beltline. Okay, well, that's tourism. I'm going to tell you right now, you're missing out on tourism by not building the hip-hop community. Instead, you're putting them in jail. All of my guys that I do business with, they're all in jail. And we don't do drug business, we do music business. And I can't even speak to my friend. I don't know how to get in contact with him. He doesn't know my name. We don't know how to, you know, he remembers who I am, but you know what I mean. I can't get on the approval list to have a conversation with him. And they're bosses. They put money into people's pockets. I don't want to hear it. You're missing out on a lot of revenue by not helping out the music, Zulu Nation type thing, not gangs and this and that. Trust me, I'm anti that. I'll tell you that right now. But they got y'all speaking about stuff that don't even, stop giving money to the people that are already well off.
Thank you. Leah Partridge.
Hi, good morning. I'm Leah Partridge. I'm president of the Berkeley Park Neighborhood Association. I would like to reiterate what Alex Deal has been saying about what's going on Forest Street. We have had, I guess, for the past 2 years, this restaurant that's come in and has taken over our streets. No parking for the residences or being able to back out of our neighborhood driveways. In addition to everything that he said, we also have an influx of truck traffic that's been passing through. So with this ghost kitchen, the amount of people that they serve, there's a lot of food that has to come into that area. So we have all these trucks that are coming through at all times of the day and damaging the streets. So we have storm drains that are being knocked in. We're calling the city all the time for these kinds of repairs. So it's just really important to us that we get our neighborhood back. We need ample parking. We need to know what the designated parking is. We need to figure out a way that we can I don't know that we can work with this business because they want to serve too many people and they don't have the right parking, but we need to figure out what that is for our neighborhood. So this is a step in that direction, and we hope that you will help us out with that today. So thank you for having us.
Thank you, and thank you to everyone who's made the time to come make public comment today. That concludes our public comment. Our next item of order is communications. Mr. Johnson, I'll turn to you. I believe we have 2 items today to address.
Section H, Communications, item number 1, 23C 5020. A communication from Councilmember Dustin Hillis appointing Mr. James Martin to serve as a member of the Stakeholder Oversight Committee. This appointment is for a term of 2 years.
Mr. Martin here with us today. Please come forward and tell us a little bit about your background and why you'd like to serve on the Stakeholder Committee.
Sure. Jim Martin. I live in the Berkeley Park neighborhood along with Alex and Leah. And although I don't live on Forest Street, I do walk my dogs there every day, and I can attest to what they say is true. I have lived in Berkeley Park for 32 years. I am currently the chair of Neighborhood Planning Unit D, which I have chaired for 17 years. Been involved in various associations and committees over the years. I think it's all in the resume that I submitted for this appointment. I work at Georgia Institute of Technology. I've been there for 33 years. I retired 2 years ago. I'm currently working part-time. My field of research is acoustics and dynamics. I guess that's about it. Happy to answer any questions.
Great. I will move to approve. Is there a second? Second by Lewis. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
Thank you, Mr. Martin, for being willing to serve.
7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Let's jump down to our held section to item number 34. 23C 5013, a communication from council members Mary Norwood, District 8, Liliana Bakhtiari, District 5, Alex Wan, District 6, Howard Shook, District 7, and Matt Westmoreland, Post 2 at large, appointing Mr. J.P. Mazikite to serve as a member of the Stakeholder Oversight Committee.
Mr. Matzkite, welcome back to City Hall. You thought you were free, but you're not. And please tell us a little bit about why you'd like to serve on the Stakeholder Committee. Pardon me.
It's wonderful to be back here with so many friends, to see people here and in the audience. It's a great day. For those of you who don't know me, my name is J.P. Mazikite, and I'm a proud Atlantan. I live in Chastain Park with my wife, and we have a son who, after graduation, is actually going to be moving back to Atlanta, which is a wonderful thing. I work at a company called Wahoo Fitness, which is a tech fitness company, and I've done things in finance, in administration, and in various operating capacities there. Prior to that, for 14 years, I led the compensation and benefits departments at Cox Enterprises, which was a wonderful experience. I have a passion for parks. And about 20 years ago, I was the founder of the Chastain Park Conservancy, and since that time, I've been involved in various capacities with the Conservancy, and now am getting ready to do a master plan and raise money for that park for the city of Atlanta. So that's a passion of mine. Parks led to politics, and for 4 years, I had the honor, frankly, of being part of this body, serving on the Atlanta City Council from 2018 through 2021. And finally, I'm an active member at Peachtree Road United Methodist Church. I joined the choir and got involved in the church there, serve on the Board of Trustees, and have been on mission trips to Nicaragua, so lots of great activity there. In terms of this committee, I'm really excited about serving on this committee. I think it's important work. The voters of Atlanta really put their trust and frankly put their money, which is probably a bigger sign than anything else, $750 million, to some projects that really need to be done. They need to be done right, and they need to be done on time, and they need to be done efficiently. And so when anybody gives you their money, I think that's a really important job, is to be sure that is spent wisely. I also believe it's a responsibility for everybody to help our democracy and have a strong government. You know, a government of the people, by the people, for the people. So I believe in that, and I think that it's an honor to serve in government. And finally, I think I have a unique perspective and a role to play here, being part of the city council for 4 years, but also being part of business in the private sector, seeing how things work, dealing with contractors. So it'd be an honor for me to serve on this. I look forward to working with this committee and in supporting this committee as well as the administration. Happy to ask any questions.
Councilmember Juan.
Thank you. I'm very enthusiastic about this nomination from our peer grouping. I think you bring exactly the right set of skills and the broad set of skills that we're going to need to provide oversight and make the right suggestions and the critical comments for improvement. And at the suggestion of my colleague here that worked with you for 4 years, I was jokingly going to make a motion to support on condition, and the condition being that since you mentioned you're in the choir, that you're required to sing your oath when you take that, but I'm just going to make a simple motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Juan, second by Norwood. Please open the vote. I was going to say that I expect there will now be a stakeholder committee choir that you'll be leading, but
After some wine.
yeah.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Matskai. It's great to see you. We look forward to working with you.
Likewise.
All right, our next item of business is presentations, reports, and updates. Today we have a quarterly update from ATL DOT. I'd like to welcome Commissioner Cavanis to the podium. I believe this is your first quarterly presentation to us. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. We didn't have a chance to talk about this beforehand, but being a chair doesn't mean much at the Atlanta City Council, but I do like to press our speakers to limit our presentations to 15 minutes, and then we'll do Q&A as long as we need to do so.
Okay. I will absolutely support that limitation on time. So I want to say thank you for having me and all of the stakeholders. It's very encouraging to hear about some of the nominations and their experience in the city. I also want to acknowledge ahead of the presentation all those who've worked hard to prepare this material and put this together. I know I've been working with most of you on this in this body to deliver this. So much of what you'll see you've probably seen in the past. However, we're going to give you an update and look forward to questions and interaction. I think that's the most important part. So thank you for having Atlanta DOT. Solomon Cavanis. I am Transportation Commissioner for Atlanta DOT. It's exciting to see some folks here at the dais. I'm going to work out some of these jitters first presentation. So today we're going to talk about the programs and initiatives, capital projects and processes, Light Up the Night initiative between Atlanta DOT and Georgia Power, street resurfacing program, Pothole Posse, and Atlanta 311. Programs, projects, and initiatives. So here's just the menu or cadre of programs that we have at Atlanta DOT. Most of you, or all of you, are familiar with these programs: Renew Atlanta, Vision Zero, T-Splash 1.0, Moving Atlanta Forward, and our grants, which is a very exciting portion of this presentation. So just to jump into our capital project status snapshot, we've identified status for Renew Atlanta and the T-Splash, which we consider a legacy program. In planning and development, we have 19 projects designed, 11 under construction, and 22 for closeout. Moving Atlanta Forward program, we have 47 in planning development, 5 in design, and we're looking forward to getting going on construction and, of course, closeout. Capital delivery and other programs, our TAD program and other focuses. We have 6 planning development. In planning development, we have 20 under design, 4 in construction, and 16 in closeout. So Renew Atlanta, it represents our legacy program, programs encompassing about $250 million in bond money to address the $2.6 billion backlog of facilities. Our Vision Zero program, obviously Vision Zero is a priority in our conversations and discussions. This is obviously close to all of our hearts, and it is a basis for how we have developed our Moving Atlanta Forward portfolio. We're currently in design and developing a number of projects that have Vision Zero elements to include equity, safety, and mobility. T-Splosh 1.0, obviously in 2016 this was approved, and $300 million has been dollars has been appropriated, 2/3 of which have been encumbered, and $156 million has been paid out, which is a positive number. 50 projects are in full and partial funding by T-Splosh. We have 13 complete and 5 in construction. And moving Atlanta forward. Moving Atlanta forward. This is obviously close to everyone's heart. This represents the sidewalks and resurfacing and projects within Atlanta DOT's purview, this map. And we have $478 million for transportation improvement projects. So our grants, this is one of the more exciting programs within the city. We have 10 current grants. 6 of those are FTA programs. Camelton Road and Moores Mill are 2 examples. We have 1 US DOT and 3 ARC grants. This is other people's money, so we want to make sure that we're good stewards of that money. And we have a very exciting Safe Streets and Roads for All grant that we received from US DOT recently and had a press conference. Many of you participated or were part of that. So the corridor between, I guess, Central and Pryor Streets corridor from the southern portion of the Beltline up into central downtown is to be designed, redesigned, and made safe, comfortable for pedestrians and bicyclists with a number of installation opportunities with concrete protection, more lighting, safe crossings, et cetera. We had Senator Ossoff and the mayor here last Monday, whereby we had a press conference and we spoke about this exciting grant. We're one of 2 cities to receive the maximum $30 million appropriation from the US DOT. And capital projects. So DeKalb Avenue is obviously a focus. We have been meeting with those as part of this body and are happy to announce that as soon as watershed management clears out this spring, we are going to jump in and take care of the reversible lane and get this project moving. We have a community meeting come March, and we'll keep everyone updated on this program. Cascade Road Complete Streets program is a very special project. We're happy to announce that we're working with the utilities to get this moving, and we'll go into construction or continue construction on those portions of this roadway corridor. General engineering services. So as part of moving Atlanta forward, we've taken a very unique approach to delivery with 14 joint venture teams joining the city, any and everyone who does business with the city and in the city will be joining to deliver this program. It will also include some of our legacy work, and we have 24 task orders that are being assigned as part of the first tranche. And I gotta say, it's a new day and a new way of doing business in the city of Atlanta. My staff and those who participated in the vendor expo that we hosted in January recognize that we are looking forward to delivering on moving Atlanta forward in our programs, and we've been working with the other departments within the city, procurement and finance and risk management, so that we can make sure that we can get this work out on the street. And we had over 125 attendees, very spirited day, and we're looking forward to making sure we engage with the vendors. One thing of note that I'll mention is the contractors in the city may have been disheartened in terms of doing business with the city in the past, but since this, we've received multiple bids on projects that we might not have received bids on in the past. And we've been engaging with the contracting community, and they've been very excited to work with us since this expo. Light Up the Night, exciting program here at the city. Some of council members participated in this, along with the mayor. I don't think, let's see, video. We have a video here we wanted to share, but in interest of time, maybe we'll forego the video, and this is available to you. We'll distribute this. But as part of an assessment of the road and safety equity issues in the city, this Light of the Night initiative between the City of Atlanta and Georgia Power has been a public-private, very successful public-private partnership. We are focused on lighting up streets and lighting up the city for safety and for the people. This is just a graphic of the program. We've completed over 11,000 lights, which exceeds the initial goal, and we're continuing to move this forward with Georgia Power. We were just over yesterday with an update on the program. This is a bus tour that we took February 1st. Some familiar faces are in this picture, but it was so successful that we're coordinating with Georgia Power to go back out on the street and take a ride and see how lit up the night is. So with that, if anyone's interested in joining and participating, please let us know. And last but not least, streets resurfacing. We have 39 miles of pavement that we've taken care of within the city. Downtown street resurfacing is a priority, and we've done 5.67 miles milled and 5.58 miles paved. Pothole Posse, everyone's familiar with the Pothole Posse. These are some statistics to give you an idea of where we are. Performance by numbers, I'll just note that refreshing crosswalks has been a statistic that we're excited about. Done 165 of those. We've installed over 5,000 new signs. We have new sidewalks, 230 linear feet, 4.5, almost 5 miles of new bike lane. So we want to grow and keep the momentum going as these statistics show how much work we're doing. And I just want to thank staff and everyone who's been a part of this program. Atlanta 311 services by request by month. We have received, obviously, substantial requests for potholes. We have exceeded our pothole SLAs, and we're doing over 30 a day. We're adding a couple crews or adding staff to that group so that we can make sure that we take care of the needs of the city and our residents. Signal emergency repairs or non-emergency repairs for signals is another statistic that, or another area that we receive requests from 311 and street name signs. So these are just areas of note. And by way of announcements, as they say in church, or reminders, I'd say let's make sure we get those steering committee appointments in. I've been overwhelmed with some of the folks who've been appointed, considering their past roles and the opportunity for them to contribute and participate with us as partners representing this body and moving forward. So we have brighter days ahead. Discretionary funds, we have staff made available to you to work on discretionary funds. I know there are a number of opportunities, innovations, ideas that we've talked about, so we're looking forward to making staff available, and we want to get that list in by the end of March. So, of course, you know where to find us, social media, Atlanta DOT, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. So thank you, and I want to again thank all the staff and this body for the time that we've spent together and everything you've shared, and we're looking forward to a future together.
Thank you, Commissioner Cavanis. Appreciate your both thorough and brief report. I'm sure we'll have a good conversation now with council members. I have 3 quick questions. One on the discretionary projects and getting them articulated for each of the district council members by the end of March. One of the things that I know I'm running into, I assume my colleagues are, is we have a bucket of funds. We have probably a list of projects we'd like to see completed, formulating them. But what we really need is a cost associated with them, so we know what we can do and what we can't do, or what choices we have to make. And I've had a hard time getting some numbers from, not to put you on the spot, but can we make sure that we're getting as quickly as possible a cost estimate for the projects that we're sending over to y'all for consideration.
Absolutely. I'll follow up with staff and make sure that's part of the process.
Thank you. On downtown repaving, I will note, this is just a pet peeve of mine, out here in front of City Hall on Trinity, we have new parking spaces that have been marked. The signage still says no parking, but there's parking spaces. But as it doesn't, as you go to the bottom of the hill, I guess you're traveling westbound, the parking space is pretty close to the intersection, and so it's, anyone taking a right is stuck in the left lane till the very end, and so it's really backing up traffic through there. So can you all just take a look at if the
Absolutely.
striping is right and effective for efficient use, and if there needs to be new signage for parking, probably should have it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
And you will note also, if you don't mind, we're doing a pilot bike lane, protected
Yep.
bike lane along that corridor, so that just speaks to our focus on safety and.
Well, and currently there are Jersey barriers. I assume there'll be more permanent installation of some sort of
Absolutely.
delineation, both on that and then on, what's on the backside of our building? Is that Central?
Central, right?
Yeah, as well.
I brought backup, just so everyone knows.
Yeah, yeah.
Commissioner Emeritus Bohar is here.
And the last thing I'll ask, where it's more of a somber request, but we've had a handful of pedestrian deaths in the city in the last month, and hopefully that's the end for the year. But to the extent in your next quarterly report, you can talk about those incidents without putting the city in any sort of legal limbo or jeopardy.
Right.
A conversation around why it happened, if there's a road design element or street design element that we should be considering. And it may not be. It could be completely unrelated to road design. And if we need to coordinate with APD on that, I'm happy to help facilitate that. But I think that should be part of the quarterly report as we talk about Vision Zero.
Yeah. No, thank you for those comments. That's absolutely a priority for this.
Excellent. Thank you. Councilmember Norwood.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner, and thank you, Commissioner Emeritus, both of y'all and your teams for working on this. Could you let me know when we may have the consultant for the District 8 traffic plan that was authorized a year ago, and we've been waiting for funds? I've got the funds, so I just want to make sure we get that rolling, because it's now 12 months that I needed to wait and did impatiently. So I'd like to get the consultant on board so we can get going.
Okay, I'll follow up with you
Thank you.
directly after this.
And I'm sorry, Ms. Norwood, I missed the end. Are you complete? You don't? Yeah. Thank you. Councilmember Lewis.
I got a couple of questions, and I'm gonna veer off on some stuff that we didn't talk about because I know it's coming up, and a lot of my folks have been asking about it. So first, I want to say thank you for coming today. Thank you for being so open with my office. I like that you were able to hit the ground running, yet still keeping your backup and working with them together, catching up on things going on in Atlanta while still trying to do new stuff. I appreciate you for that. A big shout out to you and the Department of Procurement for the vendor expo as well. 125 vendors showing up. I saw pictures of it. I saw the folks that came. Some of those folks that never had contracts in their life, never dreamed of getting a contract with the city. Well, always dreamed, but it was pie in the sky. So I appreciate y'all for bringing that to them. I'm going to jump into thank you for the Light Up the Night program. Thank you for making sure that my projects get done in MARTA, in District 12. Thank you for everything you're doing. But now, I always say we reserve the right to talk about other stuff. And so the question I have are surrounding around parking and our parking contract. The current street parking management team is up for its final extension at the beginning of April. Is that something that we're just automatically extending?
And if you would allow me, Marsha Anderson, Beaumont Commissioner Emeritus. So there have been a lot of topics we've been bringing the commissioner up to speed on, and this is one where he's just getting involved. So I'm going to take privilege to answer some of your questions. The way our contracts are often set up is we have some base years, and then we have some option years. And that's done partly to make sure that the contractors are performing well, and if so, we continue working with them. There are also other considerations. So during the life of this contract, we had a couple of very unusual years, the COVID years, and we're still in different times than we were when the contract was originally let. So the staff felt it was really important to do a deep dive and make sure that the procurement for the new contract is really responsive to the new climate that we're in. There are new technologies. There's a lot that has changed since this contract was originally implemented. In order to do the research and develop a very thoughtful procurement, the staff has asked that we be allowed to exercise the last option year on this contract, which will give us about 6 months to finish developing this new procurement, and then go into the procurement period, and then depending on whether, the existing contractor wins and we have to make changes, or there's a new contractor, there has to be a transition period. So we wanted to lay out a very careful and thoughtful and deliberate process, and in total, it will take us about a year to get there. So that's why the contract will be extended.
I don't think we should just automatically extend it. I mean, because I know April is the date. And that's just me. I'm understanding that the program is successfully generating revenue, is breaking records. But when was the last time we received a briefing from the parking manager of the program?
So not during my time here, but
You
we
were here
will.
for a year, almost a year.
8 months, yes, that's correct.
So not in that 8-month period,
That
we
is
received
correct.
no
That is
briefing.
correct. But we will make a commitment. If you will give us time on the next Transportation Committee agenda, we'll put a full presentation together for you.
And I appreciate you. I won't even go further into it because I know you will put together a full presentation for me. Is there a way for us to meet offline on some of this stuff?
Absolutely.
And I would implore us not just automatically keep it going. I would implore that right now we start looking at it, because we got to stop just walking in. I know when I got in here, we just got contracts. We're giving 12. It's a lot of money involved in this. And I know our city, we're a strong city, and we can grow even more. So I want us to hold our contractors accountable to meeting with us. Like if you were here for 8 months and he's been here for 2 months now, they ain't took time to come meet with y'all to give you a real report.
We have internal meetings with them. Our director of parking and his team meet with them regularly. We just haven't come to this body to do a presentation. So that's on me that we did not do that.
Okay, I'll do a follow-up meeting with you, so we won't go into the minutia on what we got going on here, but I do want the public to know that we are keeping our eyes on the contract. We got 3 months before it's up, so my eyes are on this.
And you can generate your list of questions. If any other council members have specific questions for which you want answers, please send them to us so that when we put the presentation together, we can be as responsive as possible.
I appreciate you for bringing your back up again. I see y'all still working how you're supposed to. And so, Mr. Solomon, I love when I got Atlanta people in here. Again, thank you.
Thank you for those comments.
Councilmember Waits.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner, welcome and thank you for your service. I'm curious, and if today is not a good day to address this, then that's fine at the appropriate time, but there were some comments that were made by stakeholders from the Forest Street community. Are you prepared to speak to that today, or should we do that at another date?
I am not prepared to do that today. However, I am aware, and we are looking at our options and how we can support the community. We are aware of the challenges of this Ghost Kitchen, and we've been working with folks to try to come to some resolution. So I wish I could offer more today, but I'd love to follow up.
And it was not my intent to put you on the spot. I'd like to be a part of that conversation.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for being a part of that. I think it adds value.
Councilmember Overstreet.
I was literally going to ask if you had any information about that too, because I didn't know about it. But I understand you can circle back, because that did just come to our attention today. So also, when we saw the Vision Zero slide in your presentation, I was hoping that we would speak about where we are with our Vision Zero, which, Chair Faroki actually touched on that too. So going forward, if we could, definitely.
And if you don't mind, I will speak to the focus on Vision Zero and safety. We have a very dedicated and strong team. We just had a program a couple days ago in Oakland City. But I will say that I have a strong commitment to Vision Zero. I come from a world of Vision Zero. focus and pedestrian and quality of life issues. I will say we'll provide an update to the program. There's a number of activities ongoing, but something I forgot to mention, and I asked that this body consider, is budget. Staffing, human capital is a priority for Atlanta DOT, and whatever we can do together to work on the human capital challenges relative to funding, putting bodies in seats, also project managers, that's a very strong request and need from these folks here. And I apologize for not mentioning that during my presentation.
That's fine. Now you know.
Yeah.
And I thought you did a fantastic job for your first presentation.
Thank you.
The Transportation Committee. I will be also contacting you offline so that I can get you and the emeritus together on Danforth, because we've got that new park going in, and we want to make sure that the plan that we started with Rowan is going to reach you, the safety plan for Danforth. So I'll be reaching out.
Yeah.
Thank
Look forward
you.
to that continuous work.
Yes.
And we have May 15th, if I'm not mistaken, we'll be working with you on the Cascade outreach.
Okay,
stand by.
fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Juan.
Thank you, Chair Farokhi. Good morning, Commissioner. A comment and then a question. Comment being, my emphasis this year is going to be on the T-SPLOST 1.0 and Renew Atlanta money. I hate seeing the fact that we're calling them legacy projects now, because that really kind of connotes and acknowledges, quite frankly, that they were authorized years ago, and we're still trying to churn through them. And I think we owe it to our stakeholders in the community to really move those forward as quickly as possible. I mean, it's kind of bad when we're launching moving Atlanta Forward projects ahead of those, but I appreciate the fact that we've got a 5-year timeline on those projects. I hope we'll just impose on ourselves a even shorter timeline on the legacy projects, as we call it. That leads to my question, and you kind of alluded to this before. I'm surprised not to see any staffing data and budget data in your presentation, because that's what I'm concerned about is, do we have the capacity in your department? What is your vacancy level? Where are they at? Are they in key positions that are going to bottleneck these projects because they are either design or project managers? Because that's where I feel like we need to lean in. You know, it's great that you're churning out the regular potholes and the road signs, but these big projects that take a lot more effort, got to make sure you got the firepower within your department to do it. So can you speak to that? Yeah, I think and next time around, I'd like to see that data in their presentation.
Definitely. And considering your role in the Finance Committee,
Yeah.
I appreciate those.
Yeah, you knew I was going to go there. So.
I really appreciate those points. And if I may go back to your the point you made about the legacy. So we're not prioritizing or putting ahead the Moving Atlanta Forward or 2.0, but those are obviously at the forefront. So we'll continue to work with you. I think we have some innovative opportunities and approaches to addressing those. But going back to the human capital and the staffing level. So we been working through Moving Atlanta Forward to develop an organization that can support it. So we are working with leadership in the administration to think about how we're organized in a smarter way, using our smaller muscles to deliver. Obviously, in our TIM program, we have the brawn, but we need to be smart about how we deliver on our projects on the professional side. But I think Commissioner Emeritus can speak to some of the issues, but we're also set up whereby we have contracted services to come in, especially from a program management approach, and we're using a data-driven approach to delivery. So with that.
Yes, just quickly. So the reason that we don't have the data in this presentation is because we're actually going through a process, working our way up to a presentation with the COO for some reorganization and additional staffing. We're in the financial analysis piece right now, because some of those positions can be supported with the overhead that is in the T-Splosh program. There's also, we're allocating some of the bond dollars to overhead, again, so we can split fund or fund positions. So we're doing the analysis right now. We got a first draft last night to see what the budget impact will look like so we can give you facts. We have an idea of how many new positions we're going to be asking to be added to our ranks. So we want to give you accurate information, but it hasn't been approved yet, so we didn't want to share that with you today. But yes, we are looking to add staff. The biggest challenge, and please advocate for us, all across the board, there are going to be positions that need to be filled. We actually have 6 project management positions being recruited right now. We have several other projects in our strategy and planning group that are being recruited right now. So tell everybody you know to please go and look and respond to those. We're getting ready we had to do a little bit deeper analysis on the TIM side. So those jobs, which will be more appropriate for some of the job fairs that are being held, we've identified the places where we need some additional staffing there as well. So as soon as we know what those jobs are and what the financial impact is, we will gladly share that with all of you.
I appreciate that, and I look forward to seeing that. I guess where my concern lies, though, is that let's say, again, we don't have the numbers in front of us, but I'm assuming you probably have around a 20% vacancy. And it seems like every department is around 20% vacancy.
It's higher than that.
It's higher than that, okay.
But from a mission-critical perspective, that's probably a reasonable.
Okay, so that's where my concern lies, is that even before we talk about adding positions, we got to figure out why we can't fill the ones that we have authorized, right? Because we got to fix that, answer that question so that we're applying that same principle and adjustment to the new positions we're going to go out with. So I think we need to make sure that we are doing that exercise first. And you're a department collectively that actually has the privilege of funding. Like, you've got it. That's not the problem. You know, other departments are like trying to scramble for how are we going to fund increase, but you actually kind of have it. It's just, I understand the funding mechanism may be a little funky, but I feel like that's the conversation we need to be having, not necessarily right-sizing in the additional positions.
So and let me rephrase it. So the new positions are actually positions that were approved but defunded, that we're asking to pull back into being funded positions. So there are only a couple that are new positions.
Okay.
They're strategic positions. But you know, we had 90 positions that were vacant when the exercise occurred where those were defunded. And so we've been very strategic about figuring out which ones of those we really need to pull back in, get funded, and get populated. We're also going to take full advantage of the fact that we have these 14 joint venture teams and use them not only, you know, in project design, you know, and execution, but also to fill some of those roles, you know, at least until we can find people to hire as city staff. But there are positions that we have to fill with city staff, that we have to have a certain amount of oversight that is done by city employees.
I agree. And I don't want to take up too much, any more bandwidth on this, so I'll just make the observation that let's dive into that, and if we need to do that offline together, we will.
Happy to do that.
And that's why the financial reporting or status is important, because then we can look at, because of your vacancies, you're running a surplus in terms of your personnel expense, unless you're soaking that up with overtime and all that. But then if we need to move or allocate more to contract professional services in order to augment your team and kind of lighter fluid these projects, then let's have that conversation. But again, it's strategy time. It is, how do we accelerate, given what we have the tools we have at our disposal, how we can fill the key critical positions that are bottlenecks to really accelerating the pace of the project delivery. How are we addressing our vacancies and strategies? And if it's compensation, you know, that's a conversation we're having across all departments. We just need to have a very real, honest conversation about that in advance of the pay and class study. And then finally, you know, if you need to augment your team, then we do that. But we also, like I said, apply the compensation or whatever recruitment tools and enhancements we need to make for our existing positions, we apply to that. So that's kind of how I'm mentally and logically sequencing this, but let's talk about this, because we gotta start moving on this, y'all. I mean, y'all know that. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hillis, and then we'll turn to Councilmember Norwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I've not been on the Transportation Committee in about 5 years, so I've got 5 years of questions.
You're always welcome.
Just kidding. Just want to pick up on one thing that Councilmember Juan mentioned, and that is, we're talking about T-SPOS 2.0, Renew 2.0, and, there's a timeline that honestly we put on ourselves to identify local projects. However, as Councilmember Juan mentioned, we're still talking about getting 8-year-old projects out to bid for the 4th, 5th, 6th time. So 2 things come to mind. Number one, the largest project stretches across multiple council districts, one being Councilmember Amos's district and my district, and a portion of Councilmember Norwood's district is the Howell Mill Complete Streets project. I know there was some feedback the last time it was put out to bid, since it didn't receive any bid. So how close are we to getting those issues fixed and ultimately back out to bid?
I'm sorry, Councilman, I missed the project.
Howell Mill Complete Streets.
Howell Mill. Okay. You want to hit this one?
Yeah, so the main issue that we heard when we reached out to the consulting community was that the DBE percentage was too high because of the nature of the work. We've gotten approval to dramatically lower that percentage down to 20%. The package is ready. It is going into procurement and will be put back out on the street. So
We have a rough timeline of when that will occur? Or?
Procurement. I thought Pradeep was here. The package is ready to go, so it's in, now with the new pillar structure, it's in the construction group's hands. So I would say that we're probably within a week of having that meeting. There's a decision to be made about, hey, Ms. Brandy, about whether it will go out as a new procurement or an amendment to the previous procurement.
So it's a priority. I don't want to bore you with some of the details on the back end.
For about 6 years now.
Right. I will say it's in the right place, but you're not interested until it's out in the street and ready to go. I don't want to commit to March, but we're trying to push that for, as soon as possible.
Understood.
But Councilmember, I'll reach out to you with an
Staying on that
update.
same subject, and, I've mentioned, we're being asked, again, stipulation we put upon ourselves to send DOT this $1.5 million list of things we want to do with the new bonds and T-SPOS, yet my predecessor decided, and rightfully so, that a large group of that money in 2015 was going to be spent on unpaved streets in District 9. None of those has been done. There's about five or so, 6 on the list now. Some have been cut. So I find I'm in a hard position of, I'm supposed to decide what I want to spend this $1.5 million on when almost none of the previous $1.5 million from 8 years ago has been spent on unpaved streets. And it's, ridiculous. I can, for an example, I wanted to throw one more street on that list, and I was thankfully able to find a watershed issue on that gravel street. Watershed went out, moved the water line, and had the street paved within, I would say, 2 months. And we're talking about 8 years, and DOT can't get an unpaved street paved. So what is the status of that project? It was, I believe the feedback was similar to that of the Howell Mill Complete Streets project went out to bid. Where are we with getting these streets paved? Because, I've got some flex money left in that pot from 8 years ago, but I'm being asked to decide what I want to do with this $1.5 million when I don't know what those street pavings are going to cost.
timing for that question is great. We actually had a meeting before I came here this morning to talk about, the package was out on the street. We got some questions back from the bidders. We resolved it. My magnetic personality, right? We've developed the responses to those bid questions this morning. So as quickly as that information can be put together and sent back to the bidders, we'll be able to finish that process. So I apologize that it's taken this long, but we're approaching the gate where things will start happening.
Mr. CPO behind you. Mr. CPO, did you want to address either of these projects and when we're getting them back out to bid?
Jadeep Majumdar, Chief Procurement Officer, City of Atlanta. We are working very, very quickly to get this project completed. So we are working with the DOT team, and it's our commitment to get it done ASAP. It did take time, and we apologize for that. There were certain things that we were navigating through, and that was that was a delay. But our commitment is we will complete this project quickly.
Going back to Vision Zero, Commissioner and Mayor Emeritus, when is the timeline to have at least a draft master plan for Vision Zero to the City Council? I mean, this is also a project that we legislated a few years ago.
Yeah, so first, you'll be invited to the process. You'll be participants in that process. By the end of the year, we'll have the action plan developed, but the initial plan has already been put together, which has led to the $30 million from USDOT. But I want to invite this body to participate in that process, so by end of year. And Councilmember Hillis, I recognize your absence from this body. I think it's an opportunity for me to participate with you as we move forward. We've been touting it's a new day and a new way of doing business in the city of Atlanta. I know you and I are going to get together and actually survey some of these issues, but I definitely want to commit myself to these programs. But going back to your question around Vision Zero, it's a priority program, and we actually are prioritizing through staff to get this action plan done by the end of the year.
Speaking of kind of staying on the Vision Zero subject, one thing that I've talked about with colleagues and people outside of the City Council is a real plan and a coordination between ATL, DOT, APD, whoever else needs to be involved. Some cities, I think it was Indianapolis recently,
Illinois.
they have a commission that actually studies every fatality crash, whether it's a motorist, bicyclist, pedestrian, with a group of people from those departments and others to come up with recommendations, because I try and go get accident data, because when I'm asked to spend this $1.5 million, I want to spend it where it's going to reduce fatalities. But I go to APD, but we don't, the response is we don't handle that data. I've never seen a presentation by DOT, at least over the past few years, that has presented me, we've got to get more interactive and get this data out front-facing to the public and certainly to council members, so we can make our budgets around where we can make the most impact. I've got one of, or I believe it's the most dangerous intersection in the city, in my district, but we've got to get data to back that up, and so we can come up with a plan.
Yeah. And if I may, we have Deputy Commissioner Doug Nagy here. Since in my time, it's been 6 weeks now, I've been impressed by the data processing and processes and talent at the city. So Doug will speak to the data in Vision Zero, but I just want to say there's so much that we can do together.
Thank you, committee. My name, per Councilman Lewis's request, I'll introduce myself. My name is Doug Nagy. I'm Deputy Commissioner for Strategy and Planning with the Atlanta Department of Transportation. And 2 points to kind of respond to your questioning. One is we're working on a formal Vision Zero plan that's sponsored through ARC. Taken a long time to get the money through GDOT, but that plan will be very public in its development and will be complete by October 2023. But we didn't wait to apply Vision Zero values to our work. So the entire Moving Atlanta Forward transportation package was based off of safety. It was one of our main goals in improving that project, or that project list. So for instance, out of all the transportation spending, about $196 million goes to trails and sidewalks, which we're trying to make it safer for pedestrians and cyclists. And so we're trying to live our Vision Zero values, but then think carefully in this action plan that we're working on, what are we missing, where can we improve? Because we have a lot of work to do infrastructure-wise, but also perhaps in other areas coordinating with the police or other best practices, and we want to improve. Second, you had requested data on your district of where there's crashes. We have crash data through GDOT that we can share with you in two ways. One, we could show you a heat map of where severe traffic crashes and deaths are in your district, as well as we're working on updating what's called the high injury network. So there's a small set of streets disproportionately creates the majority of traffic deaths and serious fatalities in our city. And so we could produce them out for District 9 for you, like a web map that you could use to take a look at for that. As part of the Vision Zero action plan, we're updating it, but we have a previous version that is already pretty good for that. There is a lag in terms of when a traffic fatality or serious injury happens and when it shows up in our database. But our database looks over many years of data, so it's more representative than the latest crash data. Because over time, the APD investigates the data, submits that report to the state cleans it to make sure that the data is actually correct, because sometimes you have weird things happening in the data, so it's important to make sure that it's a clean database, and then that goes to us that we use. So we actually have very good traffic crash data for your district and all the districts. If any council members want to send us a request for that, it's just not the freshest data.
And a question about specific to Vision Zero. I haven't seen a press release about this, and I don't even know if it's city-driven. I've seen on the Twitter sphere that there is some kind of survey out there collecting, where pedestrians and bicyclists or motorists feel unsafe. But I haven't seen a public announcement about that to get that out to the public. It's certainly been filled out by many people who care about transportation safety. But are you familiar with what I'm speaking about?
No, I'm not familiar, but I'll look into it.
Deputy Commissioner, are you?
Yeah, so we're trying to, for the Vision Zero plan, we need to do more publicity for the survey that's out with the public, essentially where people can report, where do they feel unsafe in their district, where is there something that ought to be improved from a Vision Zero standpoint. And then we're trying to marry the hard data that we have from traffic crashes and traffic deaths with this community input, being very careful. Like for instance, in the current data, some neighborhoods are very overrepresentative in how much feedback has been provided for those neighborhoods, and we don't want to, exclude other neighborhoods that maybe the people haven't found the tool yet. But we essentially want to use that as one more source of data to inform it. But per your suggestion, we'll work with our comms team to promote it more.
Thank you. Another pending request I've made a few times is, I know GDOT, or not GDOT, excuse me, Georgia Power handles this for us now, but I've requested, this map is great, but it's fairly general. To the street lights, I've asked for a map of, street lights throughout the city that this program has addressed. And so if I can get that through DOT, or if you can put in a request to Georgia Power.
No, we have that information, so we can get that to you ASAP.
And then status, you have a slide here specific to the pothole posse, as we call it. In a winter one, we see a large uptick because of the weather and the freezing conditions and the amount of potholes, and then at least hot mix asphalt is not available at certain times. I've certainly seen an uptick in potholes in my district. So what is the status of that team? You mentioned, I believe, adding a couple more teams. How and when are we going to ramp this up? Because, like I said, I've seen a large uptick in potholes across the city.
So if I may, I'd like to introduce Deputy Commissioner Alan Smith, who has been promoted or accepted the role of Deputy Commissioner of TIM, and he'll speak to this.
Thank you, everybody, thank you. Alan Smith, Deputy Commissioner for the Atlanta DOT TIM Division. Apparently, this is the division that has the brawn. So as of now, we have 2 crews that are assigned to our pothole posse, if you will, full-time. As the Commissioner and Commissioner Emeritus said, right now we are looking to add 2 more additional crews. Each crew consists of 2 employees. And so once we onboard those 2 additional crews, you'll see our bandwidth increase as far as the capacity we can complete potholes through our 311 portal, but really we want to get into a phase of where we are proactively filling and repairing potholes before they even reach us through the 311 portal.
Thank you. A couple more questions, Mr. Chair. So we have this slide, and then we have this slide. So are these numbers tied to this? Is this a year? Are these request types, is this all of 2022, or is this 1 quarter, or, because it doesn't indicate on this slide, these are yearly or quarterly requests?
So that what you're looking at there should be for calendar year 22.
One thing that I ask every department of the committees I'm on, and I'll ask of a department of a committee I'm not on now, because I didn't see this in report. You know, it's great to see all of these requests, but there's no quality metrics. Yes, we got 3,700 pothole requests, but how many of those requests were fulfilled within the SLA? I tell people a department that does this great is Watershed. So look at their slides. You can see green, yellow, orange, red, and you can quickly see where they need to make improvements. So if I can make that recommendation. And then lastly, last question is, what is the current, and of course this is across an issue across departments, but specific to DOT, what is the current remote work policy for DOT? Has that been submitted to HR? And how many people in the department are, what is the percentage of time that they spend here in an office versus remote work?
So, Commissioner, Council Member, I am committing myself to providing you all of that information as part of our assessment, staffing assessment. I hesitate in sharing some of the internal operations just given this forum, but I am very excited to share that. I come from an interesting environment, focused on productivity, so I really look forward to having that conversation with you. I will commit that our current assessment of the department and our organization is being shared with the administration and leadership, and we want to make sure that we deliver for the city of Atlanta. So if that suits you, that answer.
For now.
Okay.
But you can, is that something, going back to the previous question about the quality metrics, that's something you can
absolutely
look into and provide that?
Absolutely.
Just don't show up to your next quarterly report and have them all green, because then we're going to be asking a whole lot more questions.
Yes, sir.
First step in solving a problem is admitting you have one, so.
I do appreciate
Thank you.
Yes.
And Commissioner Emeritus.
Thank you. Councilmember Norwood.
Yes, just a specific project. In 2015, District 8 had 3 intersection improvements and 1 small segment of 1 street to be replaced. That's all we had. One of the most, so of those 3 intersection improvements, one is West Wesley Moores Mitchell. Moores Mill. And this is all on camera, that I had requested that a 4th lane be eliminated from the project. I was told by the department before you came that there was no way we would do that. They gave me 7 reasons that we could not do that. And the most important was it was going to procurement and it was going to be done quickly. And if I demanded or insisted that we remove that lane and just put in the left turn lanes, that it would fall apart. So it went to procurement. the way that the department wanted, it's now come in over budget. So my request on camera is let's see what it would cost to go ahead and do that intersection, no matter how many people tell me it shouldn't be done. So we get those left-hand turn lanes. It's lots of privates and public schools that are trying to get the kids to and from. And we, since it didn't work with what the department demanded last year, and I'm not casting aspersions, but I want right now to see what it could be if we take out that lane and just go ahead and get it done. Would it make it come in under budget? Can we just do that? The second thing is Moore's Mill and I-75 is right there. GDOT has talked with us about wanting a roundabout there. You can't do it because the fire department is at the other intersection. So Moore's Mill has Howell Mill on one side and West Wesley on the other side. And so you can't do a roundabout. So we need to take that away, and I'd like to get those left turn lanes on a 2015 project. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member. If you don't mind, I'll follow up with you on those two projects.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Cavanis.
Yes. Thank
Commissioner
you for the
Emeritus.
opportunity.
Appreciate your presence. We look forward to future conversations. I know we've been taking copious notes. There's a few reports that have been requested. Councilor Lewis on ATL Plus and the arrangement with our parking manager, as well as some recommendations from Councilors Juan and Hillis. Look forward to talking in a quarter, but also we know we talk on a weekly and biweekly basis, so thank you.
And I just want to say, looking forward to this meeting falling on Valentine's Day next year. So
Yeah.
I hope you had a good Valentine's Day. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. All right, let's get to first reads and second reads.
Section I, ordinance for first reading. Item number 2, 2030-1109, an ordinance by Transportation Committee requesting the Chief Financial Officer to authorize a budget transfer in an amount of $430,000.00 from Aviation Renewal and Extension Fund Department, Airport, Commercial Properties, Account Professional Services, Technical, to Aviation Renewal and Extension Fund Department, Airport, Police K-9, Account Equipment 5,000 plus, and for the purposes. Item number 3, 2030-1110, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or designee to execute amendment number 1 to the project management agreement for the Little Five Points Smart Mobility Improvement Study with the Little Five Points Community Improvement District to extend the term of the agreement for a period not to exceed 1,067 days to begin retroactively on February 28, 2021, giving a new expiration date of January 31st, 2024, with no additional funding required and for other purposes. Item number 4, 2030-1111, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to abandon portion of a public street known as North Circle Drive, consisting of approximately 0.2026 acres lying and being in land lot 248 of the 17th District of Fulton County, Georgia, being more specifically described in attached Exhibit A to LWH Cary Park LLC, authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute a quitclaim deed for such abandoned right-of-way and for other purposes. Item number 5, 2030-1112, an ordinance by Transportation Committee to correct ordinance 2020-1524, adopted by the Atlanta City Council on August 1st, 2022, and approved by the operation of law on August 10th, 2022, by deleting the incorrect funding source and replacing it with the correct funding source and for other purposes.
Thank you. Section J, ordinances for second read.
Item number 6, 2030-1066, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to amend the ordinance 2020-1227 adopted by the Atlanta City Council on April 18th, 2022, and approved by the operation of law on April 27th, 2022, for the purpose of adding additional parcels listed in Exhibit A thereto and for other purposes.
Is there someone from DOT to speak to this item? Mr. Nagy.
Good morning, Doug Nagy, Deputy Commissioner for Strategy and Planning with ATL DOT. This is just mostly an administrative update of some of the parcel numbers in for acquisition of property for Summerhill BRT. For instance, one of the properties changed hands, so they need to update the owner. Another one was some ADA issues related to a water meter, so they need to slightly change what they were acquiring. But this is basically acquiring right-of-way to make Summerhill BRT happen.
Thank you. I will move to approve. Is there a second? Second by Overstreet. Yep, Councilmember Juan, please ask your question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Nagy, the addition of these parcels doesn't change the financial commitment of the city or the financial liability. All right, thank you.
We have a motion by Farocki, second by Overstreet. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 7, 23-0-1094, an ordinance by council members Dustin Hillis, Michael Julian Bond, and Matt Westmoreland to amend Chapter 150, Traffic and Vehicles, Article 4, titled Stopping, Standing, and Parking of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances to add a new section to Division 11 titled Berkeley Park Permit Parking, and to waive certain requirements of the City Code Section 150-48 and 150-49 and for other purposes. And the department requests that this item be held.
Great. Mr. Smith, would you like to speak to the department's position on holding this paper? And then I know Mr. Hillis would like to speak to it.
Good morning again, council members. Alan Smith, Deputy Commissioner, ATL DOT, TIM Division. Councilmember Hillis, I can tell you that fundamentally we don't have any issues with the legislation, but there is some language and things like that that we want to work with you and your office to just revise and clean up before we push it through the pipeline.
Councilmember Hillis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Deputy Commissioner. That will be done by the next Transportation Committee meeting?
Yes.
I would request that we hold it for 2 weeks' time certain.
Terrific.
I can't make that motion.
Yep.
Someone can.
Motion to hold by Juan, second by Farocki. Ms. Norwood, before we vote, the floor is yours.
I'd like to make a substitute motion that we move it forward on condition. And let's see if we can get the language by Monday.
Mr. Smith.
Let me back up a few minutes. I know we got some residents here, so it was going to be addressed in one paper. What we're looking to do, because I've worked with I've tried to work with the people causing this issue for way too long. I've done site visits, et cetera. It's not this paper, but there's also another paper that prohibits parking on the south side, which is the industrial side of the street. So there's already some no parking spaces, so I'm looking to move that one forward today, definitely. But can you speak more specifically about what needs to be done? Because I mean, I didn't write this out of thin air. I mean, this is based on prior legislation where we have adopted residential parking permits on streets. And as Mr. Deal stated when he came up, this affects 7 or 8 residential homes. I mean, we're not talking about a whole neighborhood.
Sure. So some of what, we would work with you to revise, the caption states to waive section 150-48. It should be amended to refer to 150-48. The ordinance uses the phrase residential area, but the phrase is defined as contiguous or nearly contiguous area containing public roadways, which are primarily abutted by residential property and non-business property such as parks, churches, and schools. However, the street segment is mixed use with residents on the north side and commercial establishments on the south side. Also, the ordinance uses section numbers 150-200. It should be replaced with the appropriate section numbers. Instead of establishing a new penalty for violations, the ordinance should adhere to requirements established in Section Code 150-158. And lastly, the required 30 days to establish the permit parking program includes sign fabrication, installation, determination of the time of day and day of week for the program, notification to residents, and permit issuance is to make sure that that's all adequate. And so those are the things that we would look to work with your office to revise so we can push it through the pipeline.
Yes, I mean, those sound like pretty minor issues that we can work through. I mean, we're 9 days in here, so.
I'll modify my motion to move approval on condition, so I'll withdraw the original.
I had the original motion.
Oh, you did? I thought I did, sorry.
So, yeah, to your point, the original motion Motion second by Overstreet. Councilmember Norwood's substitute motion doesn't supersede the motion to hold. I will withdraw my motion if one of you wants to reiterate your secondary
I
Uh,
would
motion.
appreciate, if the committee, I will work with, as you all know, I'm committed to working with you all to get this signed, sealed, and delivered, and make whatever changes we need to between now and the council meeting on Monday. Because like I said, we're 9 days in, and this is a problem I've been trying to address offline. I've done more than my due diligence and trying to address the issues without this, but this is the option I think we need to move forward to, and would support my colleagues moving this on condition that we will have this draft finalized by the Monday council meeting.
Councilmember Norwood.
Yes, and my motion is to move it forward on condition.
I'll second that. Please open the vote on the motion to move forward on condition.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable on condition. Forward on condition, excuse me. This takes us to Section K, resolutions. Item number 8, 23R3150, a resolution by Councilmember Byron D. Amos expressing the City of Atlanta's support for the abandonment of portions of Griffin Street Northwest located between Bedford Street Northwest and Jefferson Street Northwest, to the extent that the Commissioner of the Department of Transportation concludes that the proposed abandonment area is no longer useful and necessary for the public's use and convenience as a public right-of-way, to allow for the proposed abandonment area to be included in the development for the improvement of public access in the English Avenue community and for other purposes.
Mr. Smith, would you like to speak to this one? You may want to stay up front. We have a slate of DOT papers here.
Alan Smith, Deputy Commissioner, DOT, Tim Division. The only thing we'll say is we have no issue with the council members' intent. It still needs to, once we get to the point of actually going through the abandonment process, it's a process that it needs to go through. So that's it.
Great. Is there a motion?
Yep, move to approve.
I will second it. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 9, 23R3157, a resolution by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari to provide funding for the Council District 5 discretionary fund account to the Atlanta Department of Transportation to be used to fund a traffic study in the Reynoldstown neighborhood to assess the need for any safety improvements, such as traffic calming devices, reduced speeds, or stop signs, and for other purposes.
Yeah, motion to approve. Yeah. Second by Amos. Please open the vote.
Vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 10, 23R3165, a resolution by Council Members Dustin Hillis, Michael Julian Bond, and Matt Westmoreland requesting the mayor as designee prohibit parking on the south side of Forest Street Northwest from Howell Mill Road Northwest to Berkeley Avenue Northwest to install signage at the appropriate locations along the prohibited area and for other purposes.
Great. DOT is in favor. You have any comments? We can go. I'll move to approve, but if Mr. Hillis wants to speak to it, please do.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is the other item I was referencing that will correct the 4th Street issue. A number of areas on that street are already no parking. However, we're going to work with DOT and the sign team there. Some of the signage is old, and again, all of the street needs to be no parking on that south side. So I would appreciate, again, a motion to approve on this. Thank you.
Is there a second? Second by Overstreet. Sorry, I didn't hear you.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 11, 23R3166, a resolution by Councilmember Mary Norwood requesting the mayor was designee to install traffic calming devices on Channing Drive Northwest between Howell Mill Road Northwest and Sandberry Place Northwest and for other purposes.
I will move to approve. Second by Overstreet. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 12, 23R 3170, a resolution by Transportation Committee to amend Resolution 17R 4652 adopted by the Atlanta City Council on November 20th, 2017, and approved per City Charter Section 2-403 on November 29th, 2017, to revise the funding sources listed therein. On behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation, all other parts of the legislation to remain unchanged and for other purposes.
Mr. Abu Saud, would you like to speak to this item?
Good morning. Ibrahim Abu Saud. I am the Interim Deputy Commissioner for Capital Projects, Atlanta DOT. The purpose of this legislation is to correct Resolution 17R4652 by adding the Safety, Mobility, and Planning account as an additional funding source. That's due to a project. It's a Cherokee project. It's a bike lane project. So we need to have these funds to pay for it.
I'll move to approve. Second by Amos. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 13, 23R 3215, a resolution by Transportation Committee supplementing a joint task order fund in the amount not to exceed $13,300,000.00 for use under contract number FC 9994-A, Airside Electrical on-call contractor with Brooks Berry Haney for services to be performed at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. On a task order basis, all services will be charged to and paid from the account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Mr. Bayadari, welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Councilmember Bibi Adari, Aviation General Manager. Good to see you all here this morning. In my quarterly presentation, I talk about expansion of our cargo facilities. So these are some enabling work that we're starting to undertake. This is to supplement this task order to install 7 miles of duct bank and fiber cable that will connect what we call some FAA radar site. It's remote transmission receiver towers, and it's in 3 different locations.
I'll move to approve. Second by Overstreet. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 14, 23R 3216, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to exercise renewal option number 1 for project FC 9938 Architectural and Engineering Design Services with contractors listed herein on behalf of the Department of Aviation at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport for a term of 2 years effective June 26, 2023 through June 25, 2025 on a task order basis and for other purposes.
Mr. Bayadari.
This is exercising our first renewal option for large A&E firm, and this renewal option is for 2 years.
I will move to approve. Is there a second? Second by Amos. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 15, 23R 3217, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to retroactively consent to an assignment of a contract name from Bombardier Transportation Holdings USA Incorporated to Alstom Transportation USA Incorporated and to execute all assignment documents for the services at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport and for other purposes.
Mr. Bayadari.
Our contractual obligation remains the same, just a name change from Bombardier to Alstom.
Great. I'll move to approve. Second by Amos. Please open the vote.
Vote is open. Vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 16, 23R 3218, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to extend the term of FC 9211 landside electrical on-call contractor service by Brooks Berry Haney and Associates at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport on behalf of the Department of Aviation on a month-to-month basis for a period up to 9 months with no additional funding required and for other purposes. And the department requests that this item be filed.
I will move to file. Is there a second? Second by Amos. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Excuse me, filed by committee. Item number 17, 23R 3219, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to execute a memorandum of understanding with United Airlines Incorporated for the uses of certain gates and space at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport and for other purposes.
Mr. Bayadari.
So United Airlines have 7 preferential use gates. They're going to upgauge those gates, and so they will eventually lost the gate, an RJ gate, and so it will be 6 preferential use, what we call Group 3 gates, larger aircraft flying more passengers. Today, United, based on their schedule, are not using all of those currently 7 gates, eventually 6 gates in the next couple of months. They're not using it to maximum efficiency. And so we have been in a discussion with United, and in a mutual agreement, United decided, based on their existing schedule and future look ahead for the next year, to revert 2 of those preferential use gates to us for the city use for other airlines during this 1-year period with a renewal option for a 2nd year. So this is just an agreement between them based on our airport use and lease agreement to recapture these gates on a temporary basis, a minimum of 1 year up to a max of 2 years.
The city has the renewal option.
The city have sole discretion.
I'll move to approve. Second by Amos. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 18, 23R 3220, a resolution by Transportation Committee to correct Resolution 22R 3583, adopted by the Atlanta City Council on June 6, 2022, and approved by the operation of law on June 15, 2022, by deleting the incorrect funding source and replacing it with the correct funding source and for other purposes.
Mr. Abbas Saud.
Ibrahim Abu Saud, Interim Deputy Commissioner, Capital Projects, Atlanta DOT. The general engineering services contracts that we have, we cannot use for federally funded projects and grants. So we basically, this resolution is to remove the grants funds and also to add the moving Atlanta Forward accounts.
And so the new funding sources are what? What are the new funding sources?
Can you clarify that question, please, a little bit?
If I understand correctly, the previously stated funding sources are incorrect. The new funding sources that we're amending this to incorporate, the sources of those fundings are from where?
The sources of Yeah, just like I mentioned, we are adding the Moving Atlanta Forward funding.
Okay.
So we basically, if we want to use the general engineering service contract, we need to have the sources of funding.
Thank you. I understand now. I will move to approve. Second by Overstreet. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 19, 23R 3221, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor's designee on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to execute a project management agreement with Path Foundation, a Georgia nonprofit corporation, for the Imani Place Trail Project in the amount not to exceed $120,000.00 to be completed by December 31st, 2024. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account numbers listed herein and have other purposes.
I'll move to approve. Second by Norwood. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable.
All right, that brings us to the end of today's meeting. Any comments from the body? Mr. Johnson?
Chair, we have a report.
Oh.
It is item number 2 on reports due to council. The updated right-of-way policy manual is in your packets. If you take a look at it, if you have any questions for the department.
Is any legislative action needed?
No.
Okay, thank you for letting us know. It's been emailed to all of us as well. We've received in our email inboxes. And if folks have comments, please communicate to ATL DOT. Yeah. All right, any further comments? Terrific, we are adjourned. Thank you all.